Breaking news today. Declaring vengeance for the bombings on Belgorod, Putin launches a massive attack on Kyiv. A Ukrainian legislator has claimed that Russia has initiated what is likely its biggest attack on Kyiv and Ukraine as a whole since the conflict began. The head of the Parliamentary Committee on Ukraine's EU integration, Ivana Klimpush, called for urgent action from Ukraine's friends to supply more air defense capabilities following Tuesday's bombardment of attacks by Russian forces. In a post on X, she said, "It's probably the biggest attack on Kyiv UA as a whole since the start of full-scale invasion. At least 24 people were murdered in strikes in the Russian border city of Belgorod over the weekend, which the Kremlin said were carried out by Ukraine." President Vladimir Putin pledged retaliation for these strikes, and the attacks followed suit. Putin announced, "We're going to intensify the strikes" in his New Year's Day dispatch. Russia had previously carried out a massive assault on Ukraine a few days prior, killing 31 people. According to Turkey, there is an international agreement on the passage of the straits during warfare, hence the country will not permit 2 British minehunter ships to pass through its waters on their way to the Black Sea so that Ukraine might utilize them to bolster Ukraine's naval operations in its conflict with Russia. Britain said last month that it will send 2 minehunter ships from the Royal Navy to the Ukrainian Navy. The Communications Directorate of the Presidency reported that NATO member Turkey has notified its allies that, so long as the war in Ukraine persists, the vessels would not be allowed to use the Bosphorus and Dardanelles Straits. The city's governor has announced that a 75-year-old woman was injured in a Russian airstrike that hit a residential structure in Orikhiv, in the Zaporizhia Oblast region of Ukraine. On Tuesday, the property was severely damaged and the entrance was completely destroyed, Yuri Malashko stated on Telegram after the strike. An injured 75-year-old woman was transferred to the hospital from one of the building's units. Peaceful people once again the target of an act of genocide, for the simple reason that they are Ukrainian. Simply said, they are indestructible. According to Russia, 2 Ukrainians were injured and 9 missiles were downed over the Belgorod region. 2 individuals were injured after 9 missiles fired by Ukraine were intercepted by Russia over the Belgorod region and city on Tuesday, according to the Defense Ministry and regional officials. The incident occurred close to the Ukrainian border. Vyacheslav Gladkov, the regional governor, stated on Telegram that one of the injured was in a critical condition. Damage to multiple homes and vehicles was reported by officials. Ukrainian officials said that dozens were wounded and at least 5 people were killed in heavy Russian missile and drone strikes on Tuesday, which also caused extensive damage to the northeastern city of Kharkiv and the capital Kyiv. The conflict in Ukraine is shifting to the skies, with the use of missiles, drones, and air defense. Kyiv reportedly unleashed a barrage of 90 drones on the Ukrainian capital on the first day of the new year, following days of more intense attacks. After many high-profile attacks by Kyiv were successful, Askold Kreshelniki writes that Vladimir Putin is poised to lash out. At least 10 people were hurt when the Ukrainian cities of Kharkiv and Kyiv were bombarded by Russian missiles and drones in the early hours of Tuesday, according to the capital's military administration, following Vladimir Putin's threat to get revenge for what Moscow saw as an attack on the Russian city of Belgorod, which killed 24. Air defense systems were activated across Ukraine. A barrage of missiles disrupted Kyiv's morning rush hour after her home was struck by Russian strikes. A member of the Ukrainian parliament published images of the damage. Golos party leader Kira Rudik shared photos to X of her partially in rubble home following the assaults on Kyiv and Kyiv. "I no longer have any windows on one side," she asserted. "I am alive, though my injuries are slight. Everything is engulfed in flames. You will pay, Russia, a portion of my house has collapsed. One side of my house no longer has any windows. Though my wounds are small, I am here and well. Everything is engulfed in flames. Russia, be prepared to pay." As per the governor of the area of the same name, which borders northern Ukraine, 1 guy was severely injured in a Ukrainian attack on the Russian city of Belgorod on Tuesday. Russia claimed in a telegram message by Vyacheslav Gladkov that 4 air targets were shot down by their air defense systems as they approached the city. Gladkov did not clarify which targets were shot down. He also mentioned that emergency services were checking for damage. After Russia's latest strike, Zelensky of Ukraine has vowed to respond. Russia will answer for every life taken away, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky declared following Tuesday's latest Russian jet strike on his country. In his most recent attack, Zelensky said in a video uploaded to the messaging app Telegram that Russia fired about 100 missiles of different kinds. 70 rockets were intercepted. Nearly 60 of them are located in the area around Kyiv. Even Kharkiv took a major damage. A Ukrainian legislator has claimed that Russia has initiated what is likely its biggest attack on Kyiv and Ukraine as a whole since the conflict began. The head of the Parliamentary Committee on Ukraine's EU integration, Ivana Klimpush, called for urgent action from Ukraine's friends to supply more air defense capabilities following Tuesday's bombardment of attacks by Russian forces. In a post on X, she said, "It's probably the biggest attack on Kyiv UA as a whole since the start of full-scale invasion." Volodymyr Zelensky, president of Ukraine, has pledged to increase military manufacturing in 2024, threatening Russia with the wrath of domestic production if it doesn't. Mr. Zelensky announced in his New Year's speech that Ukraine will produce 1 million drones, promising to put them to good use, according to various local media sources. Vladimir Putin seized the opportunity presented by New Year's Eve celebrations to apprehend individuals suspected of being illegal immigrants and compel them to promptly join his conflict with Ukraine. St. Petersburg was the site of 3,000 detentions as police checked everyone they could find in an effort to prevent crime. According to the Kremlin's RIA news agency, at least 10 people were hurt when the Ukrainian cities of Kharkiv and Kyiv were bombarded by Russian missiles and drones in the early hours of Tuesday, according to the capital's military administration, following Vladimir Putin's threat to get revenge for what Moscow saw as an attack on the Russian city of Belgorod, which killed 24. Air defense systems were activated across Ukraine. A barrage of missiles disrupted Kyiv's morning rush hour.